So how do I call your watch correctly?
It is called the Baignoire.
Baignoire.
Baignoire. Yeah,
I'm gonna forget it.
yeah, same. The name is so hard to pronounce. When you read it, it looks like Baignoire. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce. But
I thought it's like bag. No, it's like,
I watched like a
okay,
YouTube video where it pronounces like French words for you, and I was like, oh hey, this is it. And I watched like a whole bunch of interviews, and they were like, this is how you pronounce.
Okay, guys, we pronounce it
The Cartier Baignoire.
Yeah. So guys, Alex is joining us, and we're gonna do a review of his amazing Cartier, whatever it's named. So thank you, Alex.
This watch, again, I love it to death. There's massive waiting lists for it, but the reason why I actually love it is because of this design. And it all kind of started, if I remember correctly, in 1912. It actually predates the Cartier tank, which is insane. It came out as a gift to the Grand Duchess of Russia in 1912, if I remember correctly. And then from there on, it was just slowly building and building momentum, but it hadn't gotten its Baignoire name yet. It was actually just called an oval watch.
Oh, Hamilton had
the
oval
exactly,
watch.
yeah. And you see Bouchard, you see a whole bunch of other brands, right, that have a similar oval watch. But you'll see that there are slight variations like the Allongee and the Maxi Oval that came in I think the 70s and the 60s, right? But still, they didn't have the Baignoire name quite yet, right?
Oh, even in the 70s?
Yeah, even in the 70s. Or I think up until the late 60s, it was still called the oval watch, right? And it wasn't until I think early 70s-ish, right? I think like 72, 73, Cartier like formally gave the name Baignoire, meaning bathtub in French. So yeah. So, but the funny thing, as you know, right, like Cartier has had its ups and downs, right? They went through a slow period, I think in like the late 70s, things started to pick up again. And then it wasn't until recently, I would say in like the 90s, and then dropped a little bit down again, and then again in 2023 where we saw the resurgence of the Baignoire. So it's gone through kind of like these waves of interest. 2023, everyone wants it, you know. You see like Kendall Jenner, and you're like, I have to have that watch, you know.
So they made Baignoire is like very little tiny watch, and the Maxi is this like huge watch. Do they have something in the middle? Or
yeah. So the Maxi Oval is actually a completely different reference, or completely different model.
So I shouldn't think about them as like the same thing.
They think of them as like cousins. You know, they've essentially come from the same original Baignoire, right? So the Baignoire comes in, the classic Baignoire comes in a few different sizes. I think it goes up to large, and I think there's a medium as well. And I think they all come in precious metal only. I think some original. I love that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, same. I like shiny things, you know. And they come in, I think, mainly yellow gold, and then you'll see them in I think rose gold. Like for example, this one came out in '96. It's a rose gold mini. Fantastic, right? And we could touch on a little bit more. But to your point. Wide variety of like metals and sizes.
So Alex, so how does Baignoire wears?
Honestly, it wears a lot better than you think. I know it looks really tiny, right?
It looks good on you, but
all right, you don't have to lie to me. I don't know. Like when you look at it first, it feels super small, right? But once you wear it, it has a lot of presence, you know, because it's not a regular watch, right? It's so design focused that it has a lot of presence on your wrist, despite it being so small.
So I know women going crazy for Baignoire. Like, do you need to dress formally, casual, like, and like for women and men?
I think the Baignoire classically falls under like the Calatrava formal style of a watch, but to be honest with you, despite it falling under that like category, it does so well blending across like all lifestyles, you know? Like to be honest with you, you could be at a Mets game wearing this with a white t-shirt and it'll look great, right? Or you could be at the Met Gala, right? And you could get one on a bangle, right? And it would look fantastic there as well, right? I think it doesn't really matter what like gender you are, to be honest with you, it's going to blend effortlessly wherever you go. And I think that's the great thing about it. You don't have to think about it, you know?
My wife is wearing jeans and t-shirt, works great on her. Like she was actually thinking about wearing dress, but she decided to do this and looking great.
And it will always look good, right? Like she could wear a whole wedding gown and it will look good there. She could wear a t-shirt and like pajamas and it will look good there, right? Like, it truly doesn't matter where you put a baignoire, right? It's going to look good.
So that one is 1990s.
Yeah. So this one, I can take it off and I can show you guys, but the original owner actually got it engraved for when they bought it. So this one says 1996, if you can see it. Yeah, and this one, I particularly like this one because one, it's in solid rose gold, but cool. Two, and if I'm not mistaken, they don't have this anymore, but the Mini back then, they removed the actual crown. And I love the symmetry that you get, that beauty that you get. It's almost like a distillation of like what a baignoire could be, you know? And admittedly, yes, it's only a quartz movement, but something that's really interesting is in order to move the minutes or the hour hands, you actually have this push mechanism in the back. Some people find it as inconvenient, but to be honest with you, all watches are a little bit inconvenient, right?
But you can operate it fine, right?
I can operate fine. Like, to be honest with you, I just push it, and it changes the time. Cool. And it's fantastic, to be honest with you. Another thing I like about it, you can't really see it super well, but the dial is not a flat dial. It's almost this grained dial. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Is it patina? Or
and that's the cool thing. From scouring all like the forums and stuff, and you know, you listen and read with other watch nerds. If I'm not mistaken, this grain dial cannot patina. Like, I'm not sure they did that on purpose. I don't know why they went with this like slightly textured dial, but it's really interesting. Their like design choices.
Thank you, Alex. So guys, if you want something a little bit larger than baignoire, but a little bit kind of like twisted, see my review of the Cartier Crash right here.